webinar is going to be regarding Autodesk BIM 360 glue, the glue that binds us. So before we get into that, let's just do a quick introduction. Microdesk. We are an Autodesk Gold, Oracle, and Google provider. What that essentially means is we can sell software, we will provide training, customization, and pretty much anything that you might require regarding those tools, and pretty much anything else inside the AEC industry. Our reach is on both coasts as well as in Chicago, in the middle of the country. We have 12 offices nationwide, up and down both the East and the West Coast. And we have over 90 consulting specialists and an entire development team. So if you need help with anything, our team actually comes from the industry. I worked in architecture for about 15 years. We have structural engineers, mechanical, the whole gambit. Now, doing today's presentation is going to be myself, Peter Marchese. I'm a senior consultant at Microdesk, and I specialize in pretty much anything that has to deal with the BIM applications. Okay. Now, onto the actual presentation. First thing is, what is BIM 360 Glue? So I know this is kind of a wall of text here, but essentially what Glue is a cloud-based management, collaboration, and review tool. So easy way to simplify it is think of Navisworks and put that in the cloud. It's a pretty close statement in terms of what we're going to be looking at. Now, in terms of what the tool does, looking at what we're going to be using it with, the biggest thing with anything, any of the projects that we're looking at with regards to BIM is coordination and collaboration. So it doesn't matter where you are inside the life cycle of a project, you still need to coordinate and collaborate with other people, with information, with content. So whether you're looking at it from the entire life cycle, from the planning, design, building, manage, it really doesn't matter whether you're looking at a building where you're doing models, you're hopefully running analysis, you're building it virtually, resolving problems, and then you're maintaining it, and then the owner can keep rolling with it from that point. Or you're looking at this from the standpoint of more of an infrastructure. You still have similar issues and similar responsibilities that people on the team have, and further down the line, and with regards to coordinating and working with other people. Now, the ecosystem with Glue, it's similar to Navisworks in that it can read content from pretty much any different file. Upload it to the cloud, and you'll do your work there. But what it does that Navisworks doesn't necessarily do is it ties in with a couple of other tools a little bit more seamlessly. So if you're looking at this from the standpoint of the owner, you'll be able to implement SharePoint with a lot of the data inside of that content. If you're looking at this from the construction management, if you're using a tool like CMIC for managing and tracking RFIs, I can connect those to the content inside of my model. A little further down the line again, we're looking at this from a facility standpoint. If you're using Maximo as a building management, I can tie that into BIM 360 Glue. So again, if you're looking at this from an FM standpoint, I look through my list, I find that there's an element that needs to be fixed, click on that information in there, and that can take me to a 360 view of my building, showing me where this issue is or where this element is that might be coming up for a replacement in the schedule soon. So you can see how different components on here actually connect to different elements. Now, in order to integrate with this, we do actually have a couple of connections, and I'm going to go through a few of these. But if you actually go to the bim360.autodesk.com/add-ins, that's actually where you can go to download the plugins. So if you actually have your Revit model and you want to upload it to Glue, that's easy. That's the easiest way to go. Yep. So from there, I'm actually going to hop into the software, and I'm going to start off inside of Revit. Now what I have here, very simple model. I'm just looking at my structure to start with. Got my content in there. I'm going to go to my add-ins. Going to look at my BIM 360 Glue. You'll notice that I actually have two buttons here, Glue It and Clash Pinpoint. I'm going to use Glue It now, but I will come back in a little while and look at Clash Pinpoint. So Glue It's going to give me a little dialog window. I can choose how I want this to work. So first thing is, which host? More often than not, you'll probably only have one host. But if you're working with multiple entities that have their own Glue accounts, you might have to choose which one you want. Then I choose which project am I working with. So I'll start off with example, say continue. and then tell us where I want this to go. And for now, there's only the one. I'll say upload to folder. This allows me to choose a name, whether I want to export rooms and areas if I have them, what coordinate system I'd like to export, and just say upload. Now, this is going to upload that model, and you're going to see down here in the corner how quickly it's uploading. So, almost finished. There we go. So, that was pretty much it. That file that I've been working on in Revit now has been uploaded to the cloud and set up to be actually used and viewed inside of that program. So now that it's there, let me hop over to that program. So what I'm in currently, BIM 360 Glue. Looking in here, and I can see my what's new. You can close this once you're comfortable using it. I can look at my recent content, and then I can also look at the actual projects that I have in here. So for now, let's scroll down. I can actually see which one I'm looking for. Oh, in the wrong one. Let me hop out of that for a second. So this will actually log in for me. Choose the partner I'm working with. And now I'll see all my projects I was looking for. So let me go to example. That's the one I just uploaded that file to. So this one out, open that up, and I'll be able to view the content from there and start setting up my project. Now at first it's not going to be much. It's just that one Revit structure file. If I double click on it, that loads it up and I'll be able to see. But what I'd probably want to do if this is my first project is actually set some standards, create things, and organize this. So what I can end up doing is not just view my model once I have everything dialed in here. So it's just loading it up right now. You can see it's very smooth as well. But I can also come up here and start to admin the account. I can set up what color different users are going to be working off of. So if I want to, I can see, okay, the red is this person, the green is that person, so I can track what's going on. I can actually see what email notifications I'd like to receive. So anytime someone updates a file or adds a markup or an RFI, I'm immediately notified. And I can also manage what kind of a user a person is. Are they administrator? Do they just have upload privileges or maybe only read privileges? So I can do all those things. In addition to that, what I can do is organize my content. Most projects aren't just going to have one file. We might have 15 of them. So to simplify things, I can literally drag and drop a folder structure into this, and that actually gives me my folder structure to start with. So that was the structural file I started with. I'll just drag and drop that into the structure folder so I can start to give a little bit of hierarchy or organization into this. In addition to that, I can also drag and drop doc files. Just put that in there for my specs. Doing that gives me a little warning saying that I won't be able to visualize that in Glue, but I can still exchange that. What that means is that while I won't be able to view a Word file in a 3D environment, I can still utilize the Glue application or service as almost like an FTP or file storage. So this uploads that file to the Glue setup. I can do this with images, Word, PDF, PowerPoint. It doesn't really matter. I'm just using it as a hosting environment at that point. And from there, some of the things I can do is look at the history of this file. So if I notice that people have been updating this, I can actually say, well, what's the one from last week? And then I can actually compare and contrast that against the new ones. And that's a feature I'll be able to do, and I'm going to show with the actual Revit exports as well. So you can see how I'm just uploading any kind of content that I want. I can upload folder structure, so I automatically start, or not automatically, but I can start off my project very quickly with a certain hierarchy and organization. Now what I'm going to do is hop out of this project and into something that's a little bit more fully developed. So I'll hop into my example file that I like to use. And you can see I start off in this file with a very similar organization from the last one. Got my architectural, my civil. I can click on any of these. But rather than clicking on individual files, so I always want to look at architecture and MEP maybe, what I'd rather do is click on something called merged. Think of this as a saved selection. So whenever I want to look at my structural and MEP, I check that box. That automatically checks HVAC, piping, electrical, and structure, and fit view. This will automatically load all that content for me. So now I can actually start to see all the content that's actually being modeled in this building. And maybe it's not a lot. Now, in terms of it not being a lot, maybe I'd like to see, well, how's this project progressed? Okay, let me clear this. And what I'm looking at specifically, back out of here, is maybe my HVAC. So let me look at my HVAC and say View. I'm going to right-click on this and say View History. Actually, let's try piping. There we go. So I'm going to look at my piping right now. Now, by viewing history, what this allows me to do is actually see different releases or different versions of this. So I can see these are the last several versions that were uploaded. So let me take a look at that one. So I'll check that box. I can see it there. So if I look at this one, I can see maybe at that point in time, all they had together was the backside. Okay, well, what about the next one? The next one, I have the backside, and then the other side, and then the most recent one, they have all three sides. So it just depends on how I'd like to look at things, what information am I interested in. Every single thing inside of this program actually gets tracked. When I'm looking at this, it actually can keep records of all the content. I can see that people added attachments to a file, that certain files were renamed or uploaded. So you can see that my username is coming up a lot on here. But I also have the ability to copy a link to a clipboard or say mail to. What this actually means is that if I want to send some information to somebody who maybe is not being automatically notified when changes happen, that will automatically set up a view for me, and I can email that to somebody else. And when they click on that and log in, it'll automatically take them to that specific view that I'm looking at. So that way it doesn't have to, or they don't have to maneuver through the file to get there. So just a couple of things with that. So let me clear this for a second. Go over here to my HVAC. Now, with looking at this information here, I'll close that for a second. Some of the things that I can actually do is I can give dimensions. So if I'm looking for clearances, I want to find out how big something is. I can always hop over here, get an idea of that. So I can see that's 9'9" there. I can modify this so that it is larger. I can change the actual units if I want it to be in metric. I can always clear things and modify it. If I want to show things in transparent, so let's say something here is, there we go. Something here is in my way. By clicking on elements, what this will actually do is make them transparent. So as I look around, I'll be able to see through them. If I don't want to do that, I can always clean things up and say, well, what I really would like to do is isolate things. So I'm trying to focus on something, and everything is kind of getting in my way. So I click on Isolate. There we go. And everything else becomes sort of translucent. I can still see where everything else is so that I can focus on it. But what it actually allows me to do is better understand specific entities. Now from that, I can also modify the way the view looks. I can save views. I can modify how different things are organized. So if I'd like to actually look at something called a variation, get that up there. this will actually allow me, oh, there we go, say that I want all my HVAC to be color-coded based on, in this case, just the usage. If I wanted this to be a little bit more ornate based on size or something else, I could have done that. But just to keep it simple, right now it's saying all my piping is going to be an orange tone, all the electric is green, and all the HVAC is blue. Just different things that I can actually set up, depending on what it is that my goal to try to convey and what information I'm trying to show. If my idea is not so much to do color coding, I want to make it pretty or understandable, I really have a specific problem I'm trying to convey. What I can also do is save views for coordination. So in this case, this is a markup. So I drew a circle around an area that was a problem, put some text inside there to convey that, and then I can save that as a specific view. And again, everything here is tracked. You can see that that is a specific version, so it tells me that, okay, that version is version 12. My user is the one that did it, and that's the date and the time. The reason why the version number is important is, again, if that problem was a problem then, and I look at this with the newer file, I'm like, well, that's not a problem. That markup is always going to be referenced to a specific version of files. So whenever I view it, it'll always show me that. The nice thing is, though, if I'm ever looking at a file that's out of date, I'm actually going to get a warning up here. That will actually let me know that you are in the wrong file or that you are not in the most up-to-date file. So BIM 360 Glue will actually keep you aware of those kind of things. So in addition to that, I can do 3D cuts in the view. I can manage different things. I can tweak things. Using the exchange tools, I can connect it to the other kind of tools that I talked about before, like CNIC, Maximo, or the Microsoft SharePoint. So different things I can do with that. The Collaborate tool is probably where most people are going to be working with, because similar to Navisworks, one of the biggest strengths is the clash. Now, this is partially where the idea of Glue changes. Not in that, well, we're not going to do clashes here, but the idea of a clash with Navisworks is a very good one, and people are finally starting to really latch onto that. The only problem is you'll typically have maybe 1 or 2 coordination meetings every so often. You'll have everybody get in the same room, and you'll have 200 to 300 different warnings or clashes to go through, and you're trying to lock everybody in there until you can deal with them. The only problem really with that is that you really didn't need everybody to come into that one meeting to deal with all of them. So you have 1 or 2 people who really understand the software and how to do the clashes, and they're sort of driving things, or maybe they're the only ones with the license. By putting this on the cloud, what they're trying to do is democratize the use and the coordination. They want everyone to be able to take advantage of it, and they want it to be simple enough that you don't need to be a power user to understand it. So that way, if I'm working on this, I can look online, see, hey, everybody uploaded their file, every night, every week, every whatever, and I'm just going to run a quick clash and see where my work is. The benefit of this is that when you do still have those big meetings, you get everybody together, rather than 200 or 300 warnings, you really only have maybe 50. Because all the other warnings people could take care of without really needing to get everybody into a room. They can put markups, they can send emails, they can talk, but they're constantly able to see what everyone else is doing and review and coordinate and collaborate based on that. So that way when I do decide to come in here, clear this, and look at things from a structural and maybe HVAC problem, I can see that I have my models. I've got my clashes here, and I'll look at an actual report that I already made. I can click on this, and it'll remember all the issues that I have, track them at that point in time. Go back to that previous one. And I can see issues that are happening and where they are. Now, the benefit of this is not so much coming just because I can run a clash here. Again, one of the benefits is that I don't have to worry about multiple people working on it because we're not doing the changes inside of Glue. Same thing as you're not actually doing the changes inside of Navisworks. But if I go back out to Revit, now I can use that clash pinpoint tool. I can click on this, go to the correct project that has my clashes, choose which of these I want, and I'll be able to actually see that clash report inside of Revit. So if I'm wondering, okay, well, they told me there were some issues, where is this one? I'll say show clashes, and what that is going to end up doing is isolating the element in my model that actually has to clash. So I can actually see from this one that there's my issue. I got an opening, or an element going right through there. If I had the other file linked in and turned on, I'll be able to see both of the pieces of information inside of here. Because it does understand that there's something from my HVAC file, that's a return grill, in addition to my structural element. But since I don't have that other file turned on at the moment, I can't see it. But this allows me to hop right back into my authoring tool, find where my problems are, make those changes, and then come back up here and upload it again. Then when I get back into Glue, I'll be able to see that my file has been recently updated. I can see what version it is, who uploaded it, and everybody else will also be able to see what version it is and who and when that was uploaded. And you'll be able to keep reviewing and coordinating with everybody on the project, making sure that everything is continually moving forward and staying in sync with where it should be. So that's one of the real benefits of this. They're trying to make sure that anyone and everyone has access to the information. So that way you don't have to be that one guy that has Navisworks or has the ability to use it. It's being done on the internet, in the cloud. All I really have is a tool that allows me to log in, but all the heavy lifting is being done outside. So I don't need to have a supercomputer to run, a grouping of almost a gig's worth of files. Now, once I have this all set up and I've created my project, though, don't even have to go through much else. Once I've created the project and loaded content, I'm actually able to go back in and view this on an iPad. Now, the iPad allows me to view views that I've saved and review locations. Nice thing is it does have this little help menu when you first start up, shows you how to use it. Similar to some of the other Autodesk tools that are out there, it has what's called an immersive view or an augmented reality where I can sort of move the iPad around and understand where I'm going. I can activate gravity inside, so if I'm moving around, it'll understand where stairs and solid elements are. I can rotate the views. I can actually get out of the view if I get lost inside of the ceiling. And I can start to get dimensions on elements. So again, even if you're in the field, you're looking on things, you're tracking where it is, I can still say, okay, well, how long should this be, or where is this element? And you always still have the help on the bottom corner. So that is BIM 360 Glue in a nutshell. Like most things, there's other little features here and there. But for an overview, again, the tool is cloud-based. You have the ability to access it currently from PCs and the iPad. That's going to hopefully open up in the near future. But the main thing is it's allowing and democratizing the coordination process to be done by more people. It's opening it up so that everybody on the team has the ability to review their work whenever they can or whenever they want to. Okay. So if there's any questions down the road, please feel free to give us a call. You want a private demo, you want to actually look at the software and get into it, let us know. We'll be glad to help. Thank you very much for your time, though. We definitely appreciate it. Have a good one.